The first thing people notice is the silence. Not the kind of silence you get when a car engine turns off at a traffic light. Not the silence of a luxury sedan gliding slowly through a quiet street. This is a different kind of silence. A deep, surreal calm where a vehicle weighing almost 3 tons begins to move with absolute authority and yet makes almost no sound at all. And that moment is exactly what makes the Rolls-Royce Spectre one of the most fascinating luxury cars ever created. Because this is not just another electric vehicle. This is the first fully electric Rolls-Royce in history. And when a brand that has spent more than a century perfecting the art of silent luxury decides to build an electric car, the expectations become enormous. But the Spectre is more than just an electric version of a traditional luxury coupe. It represents a massive shift for the entire brand. For over 100 years, Rolls-Royce has been defined by smooth combustion engines, massive V12 engines that delivered power so quietly that passengers often describe the experience as effortless motion. Engineers even used to say that Rolls-Royce engines were so smooth that you could balance a coin on the engine while it was running. But the world is changing quickly. Electric vehicles are no longer a futuristic experiment. Governments are pushing towards zero-emission transportation. Technology companies are entering the automotive industry, and luxury brands must evolve if they want to remain relevant. Rolls-Royce understood this long before the Spectre appeared. In fact, the company has quietly been preparing for an electric future for many years. The Spectre is simply the first visible step in that transformation. But here is the part that surprises many people. The transition to electric power actually fits perfectly with the philosophy of Rolls-Royce. For decades, the brand has focused on delivering effortless, silent power. Electric motors do exactly that. They produce instant torque, operate almost silently, and eliminate the vibrations associated with combustion engines. In other words, electric power might actually be the ultimate Rolls-Royce experience. The Spectre proves that idea in dramatic fashion. The car is powered by a dual-motor electric system that produces around 584 horsepower and approximately 900 Newton-meters of torque. Those numbers may not sound extreme compared to modern hypercars, but that is not the goal here. This is not a car designed to chase lap times. It is designed to deliver what Rolls-Royce calls the magic carpet ride. The moment the driver presses the accelerator, the Spectre moves forward with smooth, uninterrupted force. There are no gear changes, no engine noise, just a continuous wave of power that pushes the massive coupe forward with surprising speed. Despite weighing close to 3,000 kilograms, the Spectre can accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in about 4.5 seconds. That is faster than many sports cars. But numbers alone do not capture the real experience. Imagine sitting inside a cabin that feels more like a luxury lounge than a vehicle. Thick carpets, hand-stitched leather, polished metal surfaces, and thousands of tiny illuminated stars embedded into the roof liner above your head. Now imagine that environment moving down the road in complete silence. That is the Spectre. The exterior design plays a huge role in creating that experience as well. Rolls-Royce designers knew that the first electric car from the brand needed to feel dramatic. It had to look modern while still preserving the iconic identity of the company. The result is a massive 2-door Grand Touring coupe that looks both elegant and powerful. The front of the car features the famous illuminated Rolls-Royce grille, which is now the widest grille ever placed on a production Rolls-Royce. The vertical chrome lines glow softly at night, giving the car an almost futuristic presence. Above the grille sits the Spirit of Ecstasy, the legendary hood ornament that has represented Rolls-Royce for generations. For the Spectre, this sculpture was redesigned using advanced aerodynamic analysis so that it creates less drag while maintaining its iconic appearance. Speaking of aerodynamics, the Spectre is actually the most aerodynamic Rolls-Royce ever built. Engineers spent years refining the shape of the car through computer simulations and wind tunnel testing. The smooth body lines, hidden door handles, and carefully sculpted surfaces allow the large coupe to slice through the air with surprising efficiency. And that efficiency directly impacts one of the most important questions people ask about electric vehicles: range. The Spectre is equipped with a massive battery pack capable of delivering approximately 520 kilometers of driving range under ideal conditions. For most owners, that means several days of driving before needing to recharge. Fast charging also allows the battery to recover significant range in a relatively short time, making long-distance travel more practical than many people expect. But here is something interesting. Most Rolls-Royce owners are not concerned about charging infrastructure or long road trips. Why? Because the typical Spectre owner often has multiple vehicles in their garage. The Spectre is not necessarily their only car. It is part of a collection that may include other luxury vehicles, sports cars, or even private aircraft. For many buyers, the Spectre is more about experience than practicality. And that brings us to something that very few advertisements talk about, what owners quietly notice after living with the Spectre. First, the silence changes how people experience travel. When there is no engine noise, passengers become more aware of everything else. The sound of the tires rolling across pavement, the faint whisper of wind moving around the mirrors, even the soft movement of leather seats as the car glides over a bump. Rolls-Royce engineers had to rethink the entire structure of the vehicle to manage those subtle sounds. They added nearly 100 kilograms of acoustic insulation throughout the car. Special foam materials were placed inside the aluminum frame sections to absorb vibration. Even the tires were designed with internal foam layers to reduce road noise. The goal was simple: create the quietest Rolls-Royce ever built. But that level of silence also reveals something unexpected. Passengers often find themselves speaking more softly. When the environment becomes calm and quiet, conversations naturally change. The cabin begins to feel less like a car and more like a private lounge moving through the world. Another interesting thing owners notice is the weight. Electric vehicles are heavy because of their batteries, and the Spectre is no exception. Yet the engineering team spent years designing a suspension system capable of managing that weight with incredible smoothness. The suspension uses advanced sensors that monitor the road ahead and prepare the suspension for bumps before the car reaches them. This predictive system allows the Spectre to glide over imperfections with almost unreal composure. But even with all that luxury, the Spectre still feels powerful when the driver wants it to. Electric torque delivers instant acceleration, and the large coupe moves with authority whenever the accelerator is pressed firmly. It is not aggressive like a sports car. Instead, it feels confident and effortless, and that perfectly matches the personality of the brand. Another detail that owners often talk about is the illuminated interior. The dashboard features a unique element called the illuminated fascia. Thousands of tiny lights create a glowing pattern across the passenger side of the dashboard, forming the name Spectre surrounded by subtle star-like points. At night, the effect feels almost magical. Combined with the famous starlight headliner above, the entire cabin becomes a quiet universe of soft, glowing light. It is a small detail, but it transforms the experience of driving after sunset. Now let us talk about the price. Owning a Spectre requires a significant investment. The starting price is roughly $400,000, and that is before customization. But with Rolls-Royce, customization is where things become truly extraordinary. Buyers can request nearly any color imaginable for the exterior. Some clients even match the paint color to private jets or luxury yachts they already own. Interior materials can include rare woods, unique stitching patterns, personalized embroidery, and even custom artwork integrated into the dashboard. Because of this, many Spectre models leave the factory costing far more than the base price. But for Rolls-Royce clients, the cost is often secondary to exclusivity. The Spectre is not about owning transportation. It is about owning an experience that very few people on Earth will ever have. And perhaps the most important thing about this car is what it represents for the future. Rolls-Royce has already announced that by the end of this decade, the brand plans to become fully electric. That means the Spectre is just the beginning. Future models will continue exploring electric technology while preserving the qualities that made Rolls-Royce famous: silence, smoothness, and unmatched craftsmanship. Some enthusiasts worry that the disappearance of traditional engines will remove emotion from luxury cars. But the Spectre suggests the opposite might be true. Because when the engine disappears, something else takes its place. A different kind of emotion. The calm of near-perfect silence. The sensation of effortless movement. The feeling of floating through the world inside a moving piece of art. And once you experience that level of refinement, it becomes difficult to go back. The Spectre does not try to imitate the past. Instead, it quietly introduces a new definition of luxury. A future where power is silent, craftsmanship is timeless, and the journey feels almost unreal. And that is exactly what makes the Rolls-Royce Spectre so fascinating. It does not shout for attention, it simply glides past you in silence. And somehow, that makes it even more powerful.